What are the odds that Ben has a complete change of heart about Basil Hayden after this review? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon. All right, Ben.
It's that time again. We're doing another one.
We're doing another one of the amazing limited, I don't even know what you call it, limited edition, special release.
Another attempt at making bourbon flavorful without having any proof to it at all. So of course we're talking about, bam, Basil Hayden's red wine cask finish. So, this one...
I just have to say, I am really looking forward to this one.
I bet you are.
And I have a story.
Okay.
So while we pour, I'll just briefly, I just returned from a work trip. I went to Virginia.
Medium cork pop.
Yeah.
I will say right off the bat, this looks intriguing because, I mean, it borderline looks like wine.
Yep, it definitely is dark with a little bit of a red hue. And so I went on a work trip and then went out to a really nice restaurant with a group of people. Mm-hmm. And the topic of bourbon came up, as it tends to do.
Do they know who you are?
Well, they do.
Do they know who they're breaking bread with?
Yeah, well, they do now.
World-renowned bourbon reviewer and internet sensation Greg Welch.
That's right. So we were discussing bourbon and old fashions and so on. And like one guy ordered Maker's Mark neat, but several ordered Basil Hayden. And unprompted, just totally on their own. And so we talked about, and I believe, and I've said this before in videos, there is actually a market for the low proof, luxury, high quality kind of bourbon.
Right, yep,
and this,
absolutely.
This absolutely is an attraction for some people. And maybe it's not perfect for bourbon reviewers who do it all the time. Not all the time, I mean, there's...
My problem with that is that I get that there's a market for the lower proof, not everybody likes the high proof.
Yep.
High-end, like you said, luxury.
Yep.
The problem for me is that none of the Basil Hayden products actually drink like they're luxury or high-end. I think they're priced like they are to give it the...
I think that's subject to, personal taste, and some people agree more than others, but...
Well, and that's the whole point of having this channel. I mean,
totally.
You really like Basil Hayden stuff. I don't hate them. I mean, as much as we joke around and trash them, I don't hate them. My problem has always been, and I've said on the channel before, they're just well overpriced.
And I would say they are definitely overpriced.
And all of the experiments they do, we've talked about this before too. It's like, man, do this on a Knob Creek or something. Yeah, it's interesting.
And speaking of experiments, still 80 proof. They're not gonna. I think they're gonna stick with that because that's just who they are.
Yeah. Some people want a smooth whiskey. Like when you first get into whiskey, the smoother it is, the more kind of like seemingly better quality it is. When you, and I'm not going to say it actually, but when you get further into whiskey, you realize that you're not really looking for smooth. Smooth can actually kind of be an insult to a certain degree.
It can be used as an insult. But so back to the bottle here, I think this is an absolutely great looking bottle. I
will say Basil Hayden does do a great job with the bottle. It looks like a premium bourbon. It's priced like a premium bourbon.
Yep.
Does it drink and smell like a premium bourbon?
We're about to find out. It does say artfully aged, which...
used to be 8 years. It's probably 6 now.
Yeah, in that range.
Interesting nose.
Okay, let's find out.
The nose does have a little... It's got a little... It shows up.
Ethanol kick, definitely there. But I think also a wine...
Yeah, for sure.
And it says red wine. It doesn't say port. I was thinking it was a port cask.
It just says red wine cask. So this could be like some random table wine.
California Zinfandel or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's fruity, it's grapey. It's surprisingly for 80 proof has a little bit of a kick to it. I will give it that on the nose. So let's go in for the taste here. And just
a little bit of a Cabernet, but I may be like reading into that too much. But
I don't know enough about wine to discern between the different ones.
All right, here goes.
Cheers. Interesting.
I have some thoughts.
I'd like to see this at a higher proof. The only thing I can ever say when we do Basil Hayden's like, I like your experimenting, I like where you're going, but God, it just dies on the vine, no pun intended, with that 80 proof. But I will say this one does have a little more to offer than
I think I'm
some of the previous
wood spice.
ones. Yeah, there is a little bit of spice to this one that I'm kind of surprised by.
It doesn't have the sledgehammer and that maybe 100, 110 type proof wood.
Sure.
But it does have some interesting flavors, but I feel the wine kind of mutes it a bit. And I think that's what you don't like, is the kind of the mellow flavors.
Well, it's the proof that mutes it. I like the wine flavor that it's giving, because it does kind of have, like I said, like a fruity sort of... there is some wood spice. I'm definitely getting that. It's finished, so it's been exposed to oak more than once.
Yep.
So you'll have that. But yeah, I don't think it's the wine finish that's muting it. It's just, again, it's the proof. It's just...
I almost feel, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but I definitely notice it as obvious. I feel the wine and the bourbon don't work together perfectly.
Really?
Like, I like both of them, and I really do like this. But I feel muting is like, I feel like the wine is taking away from the bourbon.
I didn't think that anything could take away from Basil Hayden more than it already takes away from itself.
That's kind of where I'm going with this. And it's not a bad thing. And I absolutely think that this is exactly in certain people's wheelhouse.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we're having opposite day here, because I'm actually pretty impressed by this.
So
usually you're more on board with the Basil Hayden products than I am.
No, I really like it, but I don't think it's as bourbon-y as I would have expected. It's more winey.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm coming across a little bit whiny, and I apologize.
I think this is a great experiment that they did. Well, it's not even an experiment. It's not like this is the first, there's plenty of wine barrel finished bourbons out there. But
second sip, better than the first.
I was thinking that song, Henry D.
I was thinking the same thing, and I didn't know how to do it, but...
So there is, like you said, there's a market for people who want a premium bourbon experience, but they don't want the higher proof stuff. I totally understand that, totally respect it.
Yep.
Again, for me, with Basil Hayden, it's always the price at 80 proof. But when they're doing different experiments, I suppose that is going to command a little bit of a price.
Sure.
But, so I mean, I think that all these expressions are good for people who, like you said, just want to stay in that 80 proof range. It gives them the option of trying some different expressions without having to jump that proof point. So there's a market for it for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just wish they had another line they were doing something like this too.
Yeah. We talked about this before. Like
a ton.
They make Knob Creek. Jim Beam makes Knob Creek. Do the same thing with the Knob Creek 100 proof 9-year, or do like the.
There's not enough dollars in the world for how much those bottles would cost.
If you even put this up to like 94 proof, I think that these things could be monsters.
Yep, I agree.
So if what Basil Hayden should do for their next release, just normal Basil Hayden's, but at 100 proof. Like, just here's 100 proof Basil Hayden's. You're welcome. This is what it tastes like.
Maybe they will. I feel like they never will. I feel like their line in the sand is they're going to stick to 80 proof, and I respect that. But I wish that Beam, the parent company, would also have another line where they're kind of doing this cool stuff. Because
then again, if you want older, higher proof Basil Hayden's, just get Knob Creek.
Exactly.
It's probably the same mash bill.
Right.
Well, this is the high rye mash bill actually, but that doesn't really come across in any of the products that I've had from them. I would say this is the best one I've had.
I would agree. The wine helps it in some ways, but I think it's not as bourbon-y. I don't know. The wine is really front and center for me. Like, I really notice the wine, and I love it, but
I would not guess that this is 80 proof. It has enough flavor to it that I would guess it's maybe a 90. So that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to race out and spend $60 or what was it?
I think 60 plus tax.
Yeah. So that's the, that's the rub. It's like, I think regular Basil Hayden's like, 40, 45. Then you get into the
special ones.
The special ones.
60.
So that's the problem. I don't know that I'm paying $60 for this, but if this was a $30 bourbon, I'd probably get one.
Totally.
Actually.
Yeah.
Just to have a low proof sipper. But just not including price, nothing flavor-wise, I'm actually pretty impressed with this.
I really like it.
I'll have to hand it to Basil Hayden on this one.
It's not as bourbon as I would have expected, but that's okay.
Sure. So yeah, if you like finished bourbons, I will say this, like some of the wine cask finished bourbons that I've had, I feel like the wine cask didn't come through enough to justify it. You know, where it's like, okay, it just kind of tastes like bourbon with a tiny little something.
Grape kind of.
Yeah, but this actually, like, you can tell that this is a wine finished.
Totally agree.
Bourbon.
And that's what I'm
like
getting.
That.
Yeah, I'm really getting the grape notes.
So yeah. Anyway, well, I guess you just have to leave it up to you if you want to roll the dice on this one with the price point. But yeah, I would say again, as far as the Basil Haydens go, this is my favorite one so far.
And I've liked all of them, but I feel this one is maybe the most unique.
Yep.
But if you like finished bourbons, definitely this would be something that you should try.
Most flavorful out of the whole line. All right, well, this has been Basil Hayden. We keep saying Haydens, but they changed it to Basil Hayden.
They dropped the apostrophe S.
Yeah, red wine cask finish on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Till next time. See you next time.